You know, it's not often in the career of a journalist that they get the chance to look at a brand new vehicle that's not only something different, but something that can excite people that might not have been excited about a brand before. Our spotlight today is on the 2018 Kia Stinger GT Limited, or for you in the States, this is the equivalent of the GT2. But it's not so much about showing you all the features and taking it for a drive, because a lot of other publications have done a fantastic job of showing all that, especially taking it on the track, pushing it to its limits, and showing pretty much what it competes with. Rather than that, we're going to be doing something a little bit differently today, because I think that not only is this car fantastic, even though there are a few little flaws with it, it's more than just a fast Kia. In fact, it's based around the community of enthusiasts who've come to love this car. So not only are we going to be showing you all the features and everything about it, we're going to be telling you a lot about the community around Kia's most highly anticipated and best looking vehicle ever made. First off, I want to thank Kia Saint-Hyacinthe for helping us out with this video. One of our local viewers reached out to us with a Kia Stinger a couple months ago, and we knew we wanted to include his car in the video when we finally had the chance to drive it. And thanks to Kia Saint-Hyacinthe, they were the cream in our Kia Stinger Oreo. Now, this video is going to be pretty much for everybody. It's going to be for the casual watcher of our show who just enjoys what we do. It's also going to be for the Kia Stinger enthusiasts who love these cars and like to see it in video. But it's also going to be for the skeptics, the people who think that this is still a Kia, because we've had a lot of comments on Reddit, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter as we post this. A lot of negative comments saying, well, it's still a Kia, it's still a Kia. Well, we're going to be showing you why you're probably mistaken by it. You know, everybody's going to have their own bias. We see it a lot. If you're really married to a brand, you really seem to think that that is the best brand, and you're not really open to what else is on the market. The people who've jumped in to buy a Kia Stinger here are part of a brand new enthusiast community. You know, you take a look at any manufacturer, whether it's a domestic, German, Japanese brand when you're here in Canada, they all have pretty established enthusiast communities. And up until now, Kia probably has really just had a Soul community. A lot of people like the quirkiness of the Soul, and there's a lot of enthusiast groups around it. But this is the first time that we get to see something new. You know, you can get an M4, you can get a BMW, you can get an Audi. There's always going to be a group there for you. But this is a brand new enthusiast community built around this car, and I think it's so great that we get to be part of it here today. Now, we're going to be talking about a little bit of the exterior of this car, because I think that it is, as I mentioned in the introduction, the best looking Kia ever made. And I really think that it is one of the best looking cars on the market today, not just from Kia, but in general. I only have one little gripe. It does have these little fake vents here on the top, and I think it would have been cool if they used maybe the same technology they used for the Kia Optima PHEV that we featured last week, where it has an active grille shutter to open up that piece of plastic. It'd be so cool if they did it here, so that when it's raining or you're parked, they're closed, but maybe they can open up so they're actually functional, because we have talked to a number of owners who've said the same thing. They love the car, but that little detail is just one small cosmetic thing that they wish Kia had either maybe done something different with or made it actually work. You know, even though the design of this car is quite unique, you can still tell it is a Kia. It does still have similar design elements to it that we find on other vehicles, but there are a lot of things that make it different. Instead of having fog lights, you do have air shutters that go into the wheel well. Now, really, they should be routed around behind the wheel so that they could cool down the brakes, but you do have some extra airflow along the side of the car. You do have darker chrome accents around the front grille, the power folding side mirrors, and the vents on the side. I think it looks really cool. Now, if you haven't actually looked into the Stinger too much, you don't know a whole lot about it, you might not be aware that this is actually a fastback design. Not only does the roofline slope in to the trunk here, but it actually has an integrated rear liftgate. So unlike something like the Honda Accord, which is technically considered a fastback, just the trunk opens up. So you actually do have a lot of space here, which is one of the reasons why I think that this still could be a great family vehicle for people. There's a lot of space back here, despite the fact that the bottom here is filled with your spare tire and a pretty full toolkit for doing roadside maintenance. But you do have a lot of space to be able to put luggage, maybe your golf clubs, groceries, and things like that. I think space-wise, it's quite good. And the fact that this completely lifts up really is a nice design and a very functional one that we don't see too often, especially when it comes to a car like this. Now, the Kia Stinger's interior is pretty much the top of what Kia has to offer. Now, we did mention it with the Optima. The dashboard here it looks like stitched leather, but it really is a more soft plastic kind of material. And I think if they made that full leather, it would really enhance the quality of the interior. But you do have a leather around the center here, and the door cards are quite soft with leather all throughout, your armrest as well. And really, the space is quite good, very sports car-like. And I know that this is a sports car because you sit low to the ground, the seating is tight, and the rear visibility is pretty terrible. But that's fine because you're not looking at what's going in the back mirror. You want to see what's in front of you because for the most part, you're going to be ahead of everybody else with this type of car. Now, I do like everything else. You do have all the features that you would expect. A nice head-up display, color, looks really good. You have all the information you need. A very detailed computer in the center console, heated and ventilated front seats, heated rear seats, heated steering wheel, dual zone climate control. You can control the back seat temperature as well. It's just a vent which you can control either the heat, hot or cold, but it's still a nice feature if you do have people back there. And I have to say that for the most part, I am quite comfortable in this car. I have a good seating position. Again, as I mentioned, it is lower to the ground, but I think that the fact that these sport seats here have so much control, you can really bolster it up the way that you want it to. They are quite comfortable. And also the fact that they're Napa leather really enhances the quality. I think it is top-notch interior, which is something that I wasn't 100% sold on before. I sat in the Stinger just briefly before a couple months ago, and I always thought, wow, it's not that premium, it doesn't feel premium. But after finally getting a chance to drive it and sit in it, I think, little tiny things, like I said, the leather dashboard would be a nice enhancement, but I think it really does have a very premium feeling interior that you might not find on other vehicles. Now, when it comes to back seats, we're a family of 3, so my daughter really has pretty good room in the back there, and adults fit in the back too. We're looking at this car more of a family and daily driving experience than it is a car going on the track. So we're going to be talking about that, and I think if you do have a family of 3 or 4, you have even older kids, I think they're going to be able to fit without too much issue in the back there. But just keep in mind, because of the fastback design, the headliner is a little bit lower where your head would go, so you might not have as much vertical space as you might expect. Now, I'm sure if you've actually been following other publications when it comes to the Kia Stinger, you'll know that here in Canada, we really only have 2 trims, the GT and the GT Limited, which this is, fully loaded, similar to the GT2 trim sold in the US. The difference is this is all offered as all-wheel drive with the 3.3-liter V6 twin-turbo engine. Now, the 2-liter is coming to Canada, probably for the 2019 model, but they don't offer a 6-speed manual. And it's interesting because the Genesis G70, which is basically based on the same platform, does have a 6-speed manual. So it's interesting that Hyundai decided to put a 6-speed manual on their luxury-oriented car, but not make it an option on the performance-oriented one. So I'm not really too sure why they've gone with that approach. Now, as I mentioned, there are so many reviews of this car online. Really, it has been the darling of the automotive world for the last several months because every journalist wants to get behind the wheel of it, and with good reason. This is a fantastic car. And a lot of them have done a fantastic job taking it on the track, doing performance information, and all of that. But really, most people who are buying a Kia Stinger aren't actually going to be taking it on the track. They're going to be using it as a daily driver, maybe just a weekend driver, as a grand tour, driving around, going to nice scenic places, taking it to car shows, things like that. So we're not going to be talking about the performance aspect as much as we are going to be talking about how to live with a car like this. And I have to say that it's been pretty easy the last 7 days, because we are filming this on the last day that we have this car, because really, I mean, how else am I supposed to talk about a car unless I wait until the very last minute? Because my God, I just enjoy driving this thing. It's been such a treat, and I mentioned it on Twitter and Instagram that I've enjoyed driving this more than the BMW M760 Li. And the reason why that is, even though the M760 is certainly faster, it's got almost twice as much power, it is 4 times more expensive, and it's a BMW, it should be better. But the thing is, the BMW M760 Li is supposed to be amazing. It costs an insane amount of money. It has a BMW M badge on it. So when I got behind the wheel and I drove it, I expected it to perform the way that it did. The reason why I enjoy driving this more is because I wasn't expecting it from Kia. I wasn't expecting it from the Stinger, and it performs way better than I originally anticipated, which means that I have a much better experience driving this car, because I'm pretty much always surprised when I get behind the wheel of it. I'm always just blown away by how responsive the steering is, how firm the suspension is going around a corner. The thing I really love doing with this car is taking it into a corner much faster than you should be in any other car, and it just grips no problem. And it certainly helps with those Michelin Pilot Sport tires on there. They're super grippy, and the four-wheel drive definitely helps to be able to pull you into the direction you need to go. So overall, you have fantastic ride and performance, which, yeah, I guess you need on a daily driver. Why not have the speed and handling that you want, so that if you do decide to take it, not necessarily on a track, but you want to have a little bit of fun with it, you can, but it's still tame enough that you can get back and forth to work with no issue. And that has been essentially what we've done all week with it. We've been driving around, drove to Montreal, drove back from Montreal, drove to Montreal again, drove to Quebec City. We've driven all over the place with this car because it's just such a treat to drive. Now, I've had this car pretty much in custom mode, which is sport mode with the active engine sound on enhanced. You can certainly change it. You can put it to minimized. I don't really hear a difference. Enhanced. I don't really hear a difference. I don't know. Unlike the Mini Cooper, where you pretty much could tell that there was some engine sounds being pumped in through the audio system. At least this tells you that it's doing it. But I don't really care. I mean, I think it sounds pretty decent as you're driving along. And again, as a daily driver, why not? That's the great thing about all these drive modes. We've, as I mentioned, had it in pretty much custom mode, which is sport mode all the time. You can have it in comfort, eco, or smart mode, which smart mode is supposed to be able to adapt itself based on your driving conditions. Eco, obviously, using less fuel. But for the most part, we've actually averaged pretty well, which is, again, something that you need to know if you're actually going to be using this on a daily basis. We've gotten 10.8 liters per 100 kilometers on average, which is actually pretty decent. We've driven 1,177 kilometers at 10.8. It's not that bad. I mean, it's pretty all right, considering we are using it, again, in sport mode. So you do have longer gear holds, so you're using a little bit more fuel. Revs are going to be higher as you're driving. And we do push it a little bit more than we have in other vehicles, just because it's got the power. It's so easy to get up to speed that sometimes you even forget that you're giving it more power than you should. So if we were driving it more economically, for sure, we get that number down. But I think most people, probably after a couple weeks, if you've bought this, you'll probably change your driving habits a little bit, so you're not using as much gas, and you're going to be a little bit more tame with the exhaust and your throttle. But I really do like driving it this way because it just sounds so good. It pulls the way you want it to, and overall, I mean, it's got everything that I would want in a car, and it looks great doing it. What a truly fantastic week it has been with the Stinger in our garage. I'm still thinking about it today, which is the whole point of buying a performance car, to leave a lasting impression. There is a lot to like about this car, and in no particular order, the price is easily its strongest selling point, creating a unique offering in a relatively barren segment. Outside of the German luxury market, there isn't much to compete with the Stinger. Believe it or not, the 2018 Buick Regal GS actually offers a lot of the same kit, like Brembo brakes, a fastback design, and all-wheel drive for around the same price, but comes up 75 horsepower shy of the Stinger. We've also heard from others that the Alfa Romeo Giulia was on their list before buying the Stinger, and considering any trim but the Quadrifoglio offers a 280 horsepower engine, the Stinger once again comes out on top. Now, we also enjoyed the ride, handling, and overall control of this vehicle, making this one of the most enjoyable cars we've driven on the road to date. The fastback design is a plus in our books, with a usable trunk space for daily loads. And the enthusiast community is also a huge plus. We tried to film a night segment where we talked about this, but unfortunately our gear doesn't work very well in low light. But the growing Kia Stinger community online is a great way for owners to feel part of something bigger than just their own car. And finally, this car is a conversation starter. We've had more people stop and ask us about it than any other car we've driven to date. And it helps that it's a brand new vehicle, but this $50,000 Kia is getting more attention than anything else we've featured so far. And we love talking with people about cars. It's a whole reason we started this show in the first place. Now, my list of dislikes will be short, but let's preface it with some exhaust sound captured on our GoPro. In terms of overall engine sound, we found ourselves a little underwhelmed. The 2018 Mini John Cooper Works Countryman All-4 produced a phenomenal engine note, especially during the downshifts, which we would have loved to get from this larger engine. We also think that the faux design elements, such as the hood vent and rear vents located behind the wheels, would do much better if they were actually functional. We also feel that if Kia truly wants to position this vehicle in the premium segment, they will need to get serious about their dashboard and add some real leather to complement the rest of the interior's fantastic look. And finally, we'd like to see more performance data available through the infotainment or gauge cluster computer. Oil temperature and torque are all right, but cars like the 2018 Dodge Challenger provided a ton of data on the fly, which would be really important for those who are serious about performance on the Stinger. But most won't use it on the track, and this will be a daily driver for the majority of buyers. It performed everything we expected a mid-size sedan to do during our week, while giving us a lot to smile about during our time with it. Now, one last thing we probably should have put into our like section if we had the space for it was the overall fit and finish of this car. I'm going to show you a few clips here of how close the door cards meet with the dashboard trim, and it is beyond our expectation. A lot of manufacturers that we featured recently could certainly take a page out of Kia's books when it comes to the overall quality of this interior. We're really excited to see a car like this make such a splash, because more competition in the performance market is great for everyone. Thanks for watching this episode of Test Drive Spotlight on the 2018 Kia Stinger GT Limited. Click the thumbs up button if you liked this episode, and let us know what you think about the Stinger in the comments below. Until next time, take care.